What's up, guys? Coach Gaglione here, and today is my first mic'd up session ever. I feel like a broccoli-haired kid, but we'll see what happens. If this is your first time here, I'm Coach Gaglione. I've been involved with powerlifting and strength coaching for over 18 years. Did my first meet back in 2006. And actually, that is where my curl training began. I was actually a former WNPF power curl record holder in the teenage raw division. So actually kind of going back to my roots in a way, but this is going to be training for my second ever strict curl meet. Working on a new venture. I want to get better at coaching this, and what better way to do that than putting myself through the paces. I'm going to be taking some advice from Bruce Knox from Knox Power Company. I'm ditching the belt for a bit, going to do a cycle and a contest without a belt, and then we'll kind of see how that goes. But this is my first session of the new year. Going to work up to a top single and then a down set, so let's check it out. So the first thing I always like to do with any upper body session is just kind of get my upper body warm. Some of the prime movers as well as stabilizers for the strict curl. Not going to only be your biceps, but also your front delt. Your rear delt's important for stability. The side delt's going to be important for that initial pick. So a couple of things that I like to do. I do like to do some kind of upright row motions because that's going to warm up my traps, my rear delts, and also work on some internal shoulder rotation, which is going to be important for that initial pick and that initial, I should say, the initial drive. It's almost like a pull and a catch. So like when I'm strict curling, and when I learned the technique from Bruce Knox and John Cooper, I'm going to start with my elbows out and traps up, and then I'm going to finish with my elbows in and my traps down. So I'm in elevation, internal rotation, abduction. Then I'm externally rotating, depressing my shoulder blades, and then I'm adducting. So kind of your lats are going to kind of pull your elbows in. Your external rotating muscles can also kind of help pull your elbows in. As far as bringing your elbows out, that's going to be a lot of your side delt muscles in particular. I'm using a lot of trap to elevate my shoulder blades. So that's more my upper traps. And then obviously my biceps are helping kind of scoop under. So kind of these high pull motions can be helpful to warm up, as well as any kind of movement to kind of engage your lats, so things like pullovers, things like that. And I like just general, just kind of upper body stretching, things like band pull aparts and things of that nature. So that's kind of like what I like to do in terms of my general warm up, and then you'll kind of see my specific warm up for the strict curl. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm just going to kind of practice my setup and also kind of show you some different drills for warm up. I like to think of the strict curl very much like deadlift, because you're starting from a dead stop. You need to kind of learn to kind of break inertia, accelerate, get that kind of bar going. So that initial kind of pull and setup is really important. I'll actually take very similar to my sumo deadlift stance, get set up. I'll probably show a little bit more details in the setup later. Maybe I'll even do a heavy pick just to show you, but I want you to pay attention to the similarities between the strict curl and the deadlift. So when I teach the deadlift, I really like a pause deadlift to kind of work on your positions so you can kind of set up, drive to that midpoint, finish to the lockout. Very similar kind of movement, kind of teaching process for the strict curl. It's a pull and then a catch. With the deadlift, it's a leg press and hip extension. But in terms of like the execution of it and how my brain kind of works, you're going into it from a dead stop. You need to get that bar moving. And then there's going to be a transition point. And if you don't have a good transition point, so for example, in the deadlift, if the bar gets out in front of you, or if your knees kind of drive forward too early, or if your back rounds and your hips shoot up, that's where a lot of problems happen. So if the transition is good, that's going to be kind of like it's going to really improve your success rate. It's going to be your success point. So again, in a deadlift, if you're able to maintain good position off the floor, a lot of times people are trying to fix their lockout, but they need to look at their start first. If they have a better start, they're going to have a better finish. So doing these pulls in the warm-up, you can call them strict curl pulls, strict curl high pull. These are all kind of strategies that you could use. So I'm going to get my normal setup, drive into position, pause for a second. So what I'm going to do here is make sure that I'm in good contact with everything. I'm going to pull up, scoop under. So again, my elbows are out at the start, at the midpoint, and then elbows are in at the finish. I'm going to pull up and I'm going to elevate my shoulders. I'm going to drop down and depress my shoulders. So elbows out, scaps up, elbows in, scaps down. So that's a pause, strict curl to learn the motion. And one of the things that you can see, I'm not wearing a belt. Bruce Knox says belly and belts are not good for the strict curl. It's going to allow me for a straight bar path so the belt doesn't get in the way. So I'm working on that. I've always been stronger with a belt, but I wanted to learn and use this as a good experiment for me. And then I can kind of just do some normal tempo reps, making sure that my legs are engaged. That way my back doesn't come off the wall. And once I kind of get to, I would say more than 50%, I typically won't do any pauses anymore. But if my bar path feels kind of funny, if I feel like I've been kind of dealing with this kind of forearm bicep issue on my left side, if I feel like my bar path is kind of weird, I'll do a few more sets with the pause. Maybe I'll take the bar a little bit. You also kind of notice here, especially for the higher level meets, are going to be done in kilos. So I always start, make the gopher bar. This is the competition bar, 15 kilos at the start. So I have some extra weights here. Also taking into account the collars, so that's a good way to practice how you play. You're going to see I'm going to be using some kilo weights here. The meet that I'm doing is in pounds, but so I'll probably do one day with pounds, one day with kilos, and then as the meet gets closer, I'll probably switch to pounds exclusively, so just to kind of work the specificity of it. But if you're a high-level strict curl athlete, not a bad idea to get comfortable making the barbell 15 kilos at the start, 'cause that's what's going to be at high-level competitions. So anyways, that's how I do I went from a general warm-up to a more specific warm-up, and then we're going to kind of go into my build-up sets, work up to a top set, and then a down set. Maybe I'll do a heavy hold to show you guys that. That's the next part. All right, so at this point, I'm going to probably do one more warm-up where I include some pauses, and then I'm going to kind of get really dialed in and just practice my competition technique. I'm going to do singles all the way up, maybe take 80% of my top weight. I'm looking for like an RPE of like 9 or so, or like a reps in reserve of 1. So something fairly heavy, at least an opener. And typically I've only done one contest, but typically I'll open with somewhere around 75 kilos or 165 pounds. So I usually will jump to either the 10 kilo plates or 25 pound plates, depending on if I'm working in pounds or kilos. On a regular gopher bar without like the additional weight, that's going to equate to around like 75 pounds. And then from there, depending on how like beat up I feel or how warm I feel, I may take smaller jumps, or I may go right to a 20 kilo or 45 pound plate, and then kind of get to more of that 115, 125 range, and then start to kind of take smaller jumps from there. Once I kind of get past 135, limiting your bigger jumps, again, remember strict curl, it's a lower percentage movement. So even if you're doing a 5 pound jump, that's a pretty large percentage. So typically I won't jump more than 5 to 10 pounds once I get to my working sets or get really close to my last warm up. So those are just things to keep in mind if you're kind of new to the strict curl. So again, just want to go over my setup again really quickly. So I'm in a kind of a sumo deadlift stance. It allows me to get more leverage. My heel is just slightly behind the line, so your heels need to be like within like 12 inches from the wall. Glutes in contact, upper back's in contact. Head can be whatever. I like to teach more the classic kind of CT Fletcher way, where the head stays back. If your head stays back, typically that allows the upper back to remain better contact. And if your head does come up a little bit, that's okay in most federations. In some federations like the ISCA, which is CT Fletcher style, there you need to have your head in contact. So I think it's good to like always practice with the highest standard, and then if you want to kind of go into a specific federation, you can kind of make those adjustments. So anyways, I'm going to do like 1 or 2 reps with a pause, and then 1 or 2 reps just regular. What I'm kind of doing here, and I'll kind of do a close-up at some point, is we're going to really kind of wedge our hands in where like the humps are here. So you can kind of see these humps here. I'm kind of making those finger guns if you've ever seen people with the deadlifts. And then I'm kind of trying to curl under and keep the bar close to me. And I'm going to drive off with my left leg to kind of allow myself a little assistance kind of getting back in position. So almost doing like a reverse lunge back, making sure the handle is in line with my forearm. I'm going to pull up. I might do a couple of pulls. Pause, pull. Pause, curl, excuse me. And then I might do a few normal reps. And then from there, I'm just going to return the weight start to get serious. So I'm going to do a little less talking now, a little bit more lifting. I want you to watch my approach, watch my setup, watch my execution of the lift. Also make sure you're kind of giving yourself enough time to practice the start command, which is a curl command, and then the down command. So I'm going to work up to a top single. Let's get it. So a couple of things I wanted to show you guys before we kind of get rolling and before I kind of get real focused. I like to wrap your wrists. There's kind of some debate there because some people want some wrist mobility. In general, for most powerlifting movements, I want to have a locked wrist. But so again, I'll kind of cock it a little bit kind of forward like this because I never want the weight to kind of get out in front of me. That's going to cause a miss. And what I'll do is I'll usually grab these in reverse, so that way the thumb loop's like not in the way. And I still kind of create some support here using the team personal record wraps. But I always felt more comfortable, again, being an equipped lifter, just having a little bit more supportive gear, especially as the weight gets heavier. My personal record is 180 pounds in a contest, and I've done 176 pounds in training. So in terms of chalking up, making sure that you really kind of get some in the crooks of where your index and thumb meet, because that's going to be a contact point where your thumbs can get really, that kind of skin right here can get really torn up and beat up. That's also something to consider, if you're a deadlifter, whether you be a regular, normal mixed grip or hook grip deadlifter. But often overlooked tip is getting some chalk in between the index finger and thumb. That's going to be the most important area to kind of get dry. Bruce Stocks also recommends a layer of liquid chalk as well. So I'm going to do one more. I'm going to start doing singles with like kind of commands, if you will. If you can have someone do commands for you, even better. So I'm going to work up to that top single, and I'm going to stop yapping after that. So I find my position, I visualize my setup, visualize my execution of the lift, and then my success during the lift. I'm going to really take my time to get a good deep grip here, using my leg to kind of help get myself in position. So I'm supporting the weight of the bar on my left leg. Drive forward, pull back, curl, rip. And I'm going to practice kind of that timing, working up to that top single around RPE 9, and then we'll kind of go from there. So that felt pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is just simply put a 20 kilo plate on, and then we'll kind of take some smaller jumps here. You got the fancy Helico plates here. All you broccoli heads will love that. Fresh from Sweden. And just a side note, while we are, I will personally only host RPS competitions. That's both for strict curl and powerlifting. I'm never opposed to working with other federations. I know I kind of joke about people checking underwear and stuff. I think there's a time and a place for, kind of more strict judging, so we'll kind of get into that maybe in another time, but I think that it really just kind of depends on what your personal goals are. For me, I'm really not really competing for anyone for myself at this point, and then for me, one of the reasons I still compete is really just so I can kind of do experiments on myself to kind of make sure that I'm always learning and I always have a kind of a pulse on what our athletes are doing. And since I've only competed in one strict curl contest, really kind of important that I understand it a little bit better. We got people like John Archibald, who one of the heaviest curls in the United States with a 205-pound curl. Ed Joseph has, I believe, the drug-tested all-time world records, or at least the American records for both 123 and 132-pound weight classes, over body weight in each. My lovely wife, one of the top female competitors in the country, pound for pound. She's curled over 100 pounds on numerous occasions. And then we got, of course, Coach Hannah. She's working her way up to 100-pound curl as well. So we've got a lot of great things in the works. I'm trying to get a little bit more elite myself. I'm not quite there yet, but 185 is the next goal. We'll see where I'm at today. All right, time for me to stop yapping and get serious. Usually when the 45-pound plate or the 20-kilo plate gets on there, start to get a little bit more serious, a little bit more focused. Everyone has that kind of what that number is going to be, but for me, once a plate is on there, no more messing around, because it's at a certain point, even if it's 115 pounds, 120 for a guy my size, that's still a lot on your bicep and elbow, and I am kind of nursing a little bit of injury, so I want to take it serious, even if it's a low percentage. So I need to get a little bit better of an initial pull, but I think everything is nice and clean. Back position is good. Arm is doing okay. So we're going to go up another 20 pounds, then smaller jumps after that. So at this point, I can throw the reds on, but I'm a little bit lazy today, so we're just going to put a 5 kilo on. So this is essentially like having a red on. As I get a little bit more advanced, I'll probably elect to not put the blues on and just put the reds on, but for now it's all the same difference. I do like to have at least one kind of big diameter plate, because I do think like I don't know if aerodynamics is the right word. I do think there's a different feel to using just 25s versus using like larger diameter plates in terms of how it's moving through space. So I like to do that personally. So I'm gonna give myself start timing my rest a little bit. This one I'll probably take kind of quick, and I'll probably give myself 3 minutes of rest in between sets, going into my top set of a single RPE 9. All right, so now we got 65 kilos on the bar. Not too long ago, this was my 1 rep max. So again, got to treat this weight with respect. Chalk up, get my wraps on. And I really want to focus on getting a better initial pull on this rep. I didn't really get the weight high on the last one. All right, not too shabby, still kind of same thing. I got to focus on the initial better pull, but the weight moves clean. 3-minute rest. Start taking smaller jumps. Maybe a couple singles here, depending on how I feel, but we're kind of getting toward that top set. Again, the target is around 75 kilos. This is 67 and a half right now. Oh, sorry, this is 70 kilos right now. 70 kilos on the bar. All right, so we got 70 kilos on the bar. In my last competition, typically this would be around the last warm-up weight. So I definitely got to treat this weight with respect. Again, forearms holding up so far, so I'm going to just try to block that out and just focus on execution of the lift. Felt pretty good. Get a better pull on that one. I think this is the most, it's a PR without a belt, so that's a good thing. Take a smaller jump, maybe 2 more singles to the top set. So normally at this point I might take a smaller jump, but I also don't want to be a biatch, if you know what I'm saying. So we're gonna go right to 75 kilos. If this moves really well, I'll take 1 more set. If this move, if it's an RPE 8, if I feel like I could double it, I'll take a smaller jump, and I'll just make sure it's, again, certainly less than 5 kilos. And if it's a little bit, if I overshot a little bit, if it's like a 9.5, I don't think it'll be a 10, but if it ends up being like a 9.5, if it ends up being a 9.5, then obviously I will shut that down and I'll just go right into my down set. But this will be a PR attempt without a belt, so that's kind of one good thing about trying something new. My old mentor Jesse Berta called it throwing yourself a softball. So I never maxed out beltless before. I never did singles beltless before. So this will be a new PR attempt. All right, we got 75 kilos on the bar. See how this moves. All right, that felt like about a 9, so we're gonna shut it down there, do our down set. That felt pretty good, and that's PR without a belt. All right, so I'm gonna knock off 10% of that, so it'll be 67.5 kilos, just shy of 150 pounds. And I'm gonna do kind of an AMRAP, but just as many kind of clean reps as I can get. Not really looking for any particular kind of number, but just to get clean repetitions, my speed, working on my technique here. I've never really been good at reps, so that's something I'm trying to work on with this training cycle. So we're going to kind of work on that and work on improving. And then probably next time I do this particular workout, next time I take a single, I'm doing kind of like 3-week waves where I'll do on the heavy day or the max effort day, I'll do week 1 triples, week 2 doubles, week 3 singles. This is week 3 for me, and then I'll kind of restart the cycle. So this will be my down set. Maybe I'll do a heavy hold just to practice to show you guys, and then we're kind of moving on for the rest of the workout. So this will be my final set of the day, keeping the volume kind of low. And then you'll see in the next workout, it's going to be more of a dynamic or repetition, power focused day. But this is keeping the volume pretty low, just top set, down set. That's by design because I'm kind of nursing that forearm issue. And just trying to be efficient with my techniques. I'm focusing on quality over quantity here. So again, I'm going to do as many clean reps as I can with this weight. We got 67.5 kilos on the bar. Just shy of 150 pounds for you Americans watching and listening. Not really worried about dead stopping reps today. I just want to work on power and speed on the down set. But if you could halt your reps or dead stop your reps, that'll have a higher transfer to your top end strength. Gonna save some in the tank for next time. All right, that's week 1, strict curl workouts for the new year. Stay tuned for the rest of the series. If you enjoyed the video, share the video. Please subscribe. Until next time, stay strong. We'll see you soon. All right, gang, so what I wanted to show you here is just kind of me logging my workouts on Turnkey Coach. So I did a single at 75 kilos. My Turnkey Coach is set to pounds, so I'm going to put 165 pounds here. I might also just make a note that this was done without a belt, and then I'm going to kind of go into my assistance work now. And then on my down set, It was, I believe, 148. We'll just say 149. 148.8 pounds was the kilo conversion. And then I did a down set of 5 there, and that felt pretty comfortable. I think that was good. I probably had a few more in the tank. So always log your work. It's going to show me my PRs and history and all that. Until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.